Carl Jung's warning, perfectionism hides fear of your real power. Let me ask you something that might sound strange at first. What if the part of you that always wants to be better is actually afraid of who you already are? That's not just a motivational idea, it's a psychological warning straight from Carl Jung, one of the most profound minds in philosophy and depth psychology. Jung didn't just analyze dreams or archetypes, he dared to look beneath the surface of our identities and ask, why do people chase perfection? And what he found is something most of us live with every single day without realizing it. Perfectionism is not a strength, it's a defense mechanism. It doesn't mean we're striving for excellence. Most often, it means we're terrified of our own real power. Let's be honest. We live in a culture obsessed with being perfect careers, perfect bodies, perfect relationships, perfect Instagram lives. But behind all of that is a subtle, invisible terror, the fear that if we ever stopped polishing our image, if we ever let people see the raw, messy, unpredictable truth of who we are, we would be rejected or destroyed. So we overcompensate. We try to be flawless. But here's what Jung would say, that drive for perfection is not noble, it's a disguised fear. A fear of encountering the real self, the one that is not perfect, but is powerful in ways that terrify the ego.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Jung believed that every human being has a shadow, a part of the psyche that contains the repressed, denied, or feared aspects of ourselves. But contrary to popular belief, the shadow isn't just our anger, jealousy, or shame. It also contains our undeveloped greatness, our potential, our genius, our originality. And perfectionism is one of the most effective ways we keep that shadow locked away. Because if you're always trying to be what you think you should be, you never have to confront who you really are. You never have to take the risk of living from your deepest truth. And that's the tragedy. Perfection looks like ambition, but it often hides paralysis. Think about it. Why do we procrastinate on the things that matter most to us? Why do we hesitate to write the book, share the idea, pursue the dream? It's not laziness, it's perfectionism. But underneath that perfectionism is something even deeper, fear. Not just fear of failure, fear of success, fear of unlocking a version of ourselves that we cannot control. Jung warned that the ego, our conscious identity, wants safety and predictability. But the self, the deeper, archetypal core of who we are, wants wholeness. And wholeness is not clean or tidy. It's not curated, it's wild, raw, creative, and unpredictable. So the ego creates this illusion, I can't act until I'm perfect. But perfection never comes, and so we stay stuck. Here's the twist. The more you chase perfection, the more disconnected you become from your own power. Because real power doesn't come from appearing flawless. It comes from authenticity, from embracing your flaws, your contradictions, your vulnerability. But that's where your soul lives. Jung said, I'd rather be whole than good. And that's the real warning. If you keep chasing perfection, you may become good in the eyes of others, but you'll never become whole in the eyes of yourself. Let me give you an example. Imagine a young artist who has incredible vision, original ideas, raw talent. But every time she tries to create, she hears a voice in her head, it's not good enough yet. You're not ready, wait until you're perfect. So she delays. She studies more. She sketches but never paints. She becomes a master of preparation, but not of creation. And years go by. Her soul is starving, not because she lacks skill, but because she fears her own originality. Her perfectionism is not protecting her from failure, it's protecting her from the risk of becoming fully alive. Ask yourself, where in your life are you hiding behind the mask of trying to be perfect? And what might happen if you dropped the mask even for a moment? What would you create? Who would you become? What truth would you finally speak? Perfectionism doesn't just block creativity. It blocks intimacy. It blocks courage. It blocks truth. Because when you're always trying to present a polished version of yourself, you never let others see the real you. And if they can't see the real you, they can't truly love you. So perfectionism doesn't just isolate you from your power, it isolates you from connection. And that's why it's so dangerous. It keeps you safe at the cost of your aliveness. Jung's message was never about being more disciplined or more polished. It was about being more real. He believed that our deepest wounds are often the doorways to our greatest gifts, but only if we're willing to stop pretending we're perfect and start becoming whole. And that process is messy. It's terrifying. It means confronting your shadow, embracing your contradictions, and saying yes to the parts of you that don't fit the image you've spent your whole life trying to protect. So here's the challenge. Not to be better, not to be perfect, but to be true. You need to stop hiding behind your performance and start living from your presence. Because your real power, the power Jung was trying to get us to see, isn't found in how flawless you appear. It's found in how deeply you're willing to show up as you are without the mask. And now I leave you with this question. What would happen if you stopped trying to be perfect and simply dared to be real? The shadow knows how your hidden self holds the key to everything you fear and desire. Carl Jung once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That single sentence could unravel the mystery of why so many people, despite their intelligence, ambition, and potential, feel stuck, caught in cycles of self-sabotage, anxiety, and/or creative paralysis. It's not that we lack talent or opportunity. It's that we haven't turned to face our shadow. And the shadow isn't just some dark, sinister corner of the psyche. It's the part of you that holds both the thing you fear the most and the thing you desire the most. But it's the map to your unlived life. Let's break this down. The shadow is everything you've repressed, denied, or disowned about yourself. But contrary to popular belief, it's not just negative traits like anger, envy, or selfishness. No, some of the most powerful, divine, and creative aspects of you have also been buried in the shadow. Why? Because they scared someone else. Maybe your genius made a parent feel insecure. But maybe your confidence was called arrogance. Maybe your sensitivity was mocked, so you buried it. You became good. You adapted. But in doing so, you lost access to the wild, untamed energy of your real self. And here's the paradox. The more you repress your shadow, the more it controls you from behind the scenes. Think about the last time you overreacted to something small, a comment, a look, a moment of silence, and it spiraled into shame, rage, or fear. That wasn't logic. That was the shadow erupting. And until you consciously turn to face it, it will continue to leak out in your relationships, your work, your health, your sense of self-worth. Jung didn't see the shadow as something to destroy. He saw it as something to integrate. Because within the shadow is your power. And the integration of that power isn't a one-time event, it's a lifelong process of becoming whole. Here's the part no one talks about. Your unrealized potential lives in the same place as your demons. That's why so many people are afraid to go there. They say they want to grow, but they avoid the mirror. Why? Because the mirror doesn't just show you your wounds. It shows you your greatness. And sometimes that's even harder to face. Because if you truly embraced your power, your voice, your insight, your fire, then you'd have to stop hiding. You'd have to stop blaming your past, your parents, your circumstances. You'd have to start living like someone who matters. And that responsibility terrifies the ego. So the ego keeps you chasing perfection, keeps you busy, keeps you overthinking, keeps you addicted to your to-do list, your image, your identity. All so you never have to sit down and ask, what part of me have I abandoned to fit in? What truth have I silenced to be liked? What dream have I buried because it made someone else uncomfortable? These are not easy questions, but they are the doorway to everything you long for. Because here's the truth, you will never feel fully alive until you reclaim the parts of yourself you've left behind. You will never feel fully free until you stop running from your shadow. And you will never feel truly powerful until you stop pretending you're powerless. The shadow doesn't go away because you ignore it. It waits, patiently, in your triggers, in your failures, in your dreams. It whispers there is more to you than this. And the moment you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be whole, you begin to hear it. Imagine you could sit down with your shadow not to fight it, but to listen. What would it tell you? What talents has it been protecting? What truths has it been begging you to speak? What part of you is dying to be seen, not just by others, but by you? The irony is that the shadow doesn't make you weaker. It makes you real, and when you integrate it, you don't become a monster. You become more human, more grounded, more fearless, because now there's nothing to hide. No mask, no illusion, just you raw, flawed, brilliant, and whole. So I'll ask you this, what is the one part of yourself you've been most afraid to face, and what would happen if you welcomed it home? Beyond the mask, why authenticity is more powerful than perfection ever will be at some point in our lives. Usually early on we learn to wear a mask. Not a literal one, but a psychological one. We learn to present a version of ourselves that fits the expectations of others. We learn which emotions are acceptable, which dreams are realistic, which parts of ourselves are too much. And slowly, subtly, we begin to trade authenticity for approval. We become performers in our own lives, rehearsing lines we didn't write, playing roles we didn't choose. But here's the quiet tragedy. Every time we hide a piece of our true self to be accepted, we lose a piece of our soul. Every performance costs us something real. And perfectionism. That's just the most socially celebrated mask of all. Perfectionism tells us, if I can just get everything right, no one will see my flaws. No one will leave me. I will be safe. But what it doesn't tell us is that in the pursuit of being flawless, we actually become faceless. We lose the very essence of what makes us human, compelling, and deeply alive. People don't connect with you because you're perfect. They connect because you're real. because you say the thing they're afraid to say, because you show the scar they're hiding, because you let them see the raw, unfiltered truth of someone who's not pretending anymore. That's where the magic is. That's where the power is. And it's the only thing that actually lasts. Authenticity is not the opposite of ambition. It's the foundation of it. When you let go of the need to be liked, approved of, or seen as flawless, you gain something far more valuable: clarity. You start to know what you want, not what others told you to want. You start to feel what's true for you, not what's expected. You stop living for applause and start living from alignment. And in that space, your energy becomes magnetic. Your presence becomes unforgettable. Because most people are still hiding. And when someone dares to be fully seen, they become a mirror showing others what's possible. But let's be honest, authenticity is terrifying. It requires you to risk rejection. It requires you to show up without the armor. It requires you to trust that who you really are is enough. And that's the part that perfectionism tries to protect us from. Somewhere along the way, we learned that being ourselves was dangerous. Maybe we were punished, mocked, ignored, or misunderstood. So we built personas. We became the smart one, the quiet one, the achiever, the helper, the strong one. And those roles kept us safe. But now, they're cages. Comfortable, familiar, but still cages. And the door is open. We just have to walk through it. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped trying to impress people and started trying to express yourself? What would you stop doing, saying, wearing, chasing? What would you start creating, feeling, risking, loving? These questions are not theoretical. They are existential. Because authenticity isn't just about being true to yourself, it's about reclaiming your life from the lies that have kept you small. Jung understood this deeply. He knew that the path to individuation, the process of becoming your truest, fullest self, required confronting every mask you've worn, every lie you've told yourself, every compromise you've made to be accepted. And he knew that beyond all of it was something far more powerful than perfection, the integrated self. The self that owns its light and its darkness. The self that speaks with authority because it no longer fears being wrong. The self that loves without conditions because it no longer depends on performance for worth. Here's the paradox: the more authentic you become, the more powerful you feel, and the less you need power over others. You stop trying to control how you're perceived. You stop needing everyone to agree with you. You stop fearing failure, because failure no longer defines you. You start leading from your center, speaking from your truth, living from your soul. And that's where real influence comes from. Not from being perfect, but from being free. Free to be flawed, bold, honest, and fully alive. Free to stop performing and start becoming. Free to disappoint others and finally say yes to yourself. So I ask you now, what mask have you been wearing for so long that you forgot it wasn't your face? And what would happen if you took it off not tomorrow, not when it's safe, but right now? The unlived life. Why facing your fear of power is the beginning of true freedom. There's a quiet ache that lives in almost all of us, a sense that we're not quite living the life we were meant to live. We feel traces of it in the moments we're alone, when the distractions fade and the noise dies down. It's not regret, exactly. It's more like a whisper from something deep inside, something we buried. Jung called this the unlived life. It's the version of you that could have been the one who never got the chance to fully emerge because fear, conditioning, or perfectionism got in the way. And the terrifying truth: that unlived life doesn't just disappear. It waits. It haunts you. It shows up in your envy, your boredom, your restlessness. It's the part of you that knows you're capable of more, but also knows you've been afraid to claim it. This fear isn't irrational. It's not silly. It's ancient, because stepping into your real power means letting go of everything that has kept you small, safe, and familiar. It means facing the unknown not out there in the world, but in you. Jung warned us that the greatest danger is not our darkness, but our light. Because if you fully embraced your power, you'd have to take full responsibility for your life. No more excuses, no more hiding, no more blaming the system, the past, or the people who didn't believe in you. You'd have to become the person you were always meant to be. And that is terrifying, because it's the end of who you thought you were. We think we're afraid of failure, but more often we're afraid of what happens if we succeed. If you actually wrote the book, started the business, made the art, spoke the truth, then what? Then you'd be seen. Then you'd be vulnerable. Then you'd have no one left to hide behind. And maybe worst of all, you'd have to keep showing up. Power demands consistency. It demands courage. It demands that you stop outsourcing your worth and start generating it from within. No one teaches us how to handle that. So we default to perfectionism. We stay in the rehearsal room, endlessly preparing for a performance we never give. We convince ourselves we're not ready. But the truth is, we're already who we need to be. We've just been too afraid to believe it. Here's the uncomfortable paradox. Your fear is a compass. It points directly to what matters most. The thing you're most afraid to do is usually the thing your soul came here to do, and your unlived life. It's not a fantasy, it's a map, a set of clues leading you back to your authentic self. But you can't follow that map if you keep waiting to be fearless. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move with it. Use fear as a doorway, not a wall. To realize that the power you fear is the power that will set you free. So what does it actually mean to live your real life, not the one designed by fear, but the one led by truth? It means doing the thing that scares you because it scares you. It means creating even when you're not sure it's good enough. It means telling the truth even when your voice shakes. It means disappointing others if it means finally honoring yourself. And most of all, it means trusting that your real self, flawed, messy, radiant, and whole, is the only self worth becoming. Carl Jung didn't want us to become perfect. He wanted us to become complete, to stop amputating the parts of ourselves that don't fit the mold, to stop fearing our own fire. Because your deepest power isn't in becoming someone else, it's in remembering who you are beneath the mask. The world doesn't need more polished people, it needs more real ones. People who are willing to face their fear of power, step into their unlived life, and say, "This is who I am. This is what I'm here to do, and I'm not hiding anymore." So let me leave you with one final, piercing question, the kind that can stay with you for a lifetime. What unlived life is waiting behind your fear? And how much longer will you make it wait? Now go. Live like your soul is watching, because it is.